Long time no see. The past few months have been pretty adventure filled and I am super excited to share it with you guys. I have finally gotten around to editing some of the many hours of footage and I'm going to try to break down different legs of our trip. As we're getting into camping season and you guys are making plans and reservations, hopefully some of what I'm talking about will be helpful. If this is your first time watching any of my videos, my name is Lauren. Nice to meet you. And I am actually a women's wear designer. I've made videos about some of my tips and tricks as a designer as well as a small business owner. But about a year ago, my husband and we purchased a 25-foot Class C. We gave it a little bit of a makeover, and every now and then I drop by YouTube to just share some of those experiences. It makes me feel good when you guys like and subscribe. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into it. So I do have some notes over here with me, so if you see me kind of look off to the side, this is going to be a long one, so buckle up and bear with me. So one of the first things we had to do is we had to start our trip with getting through and surviving LA traffic. There is a blog that I follow that talks about the 3:30 rule, and they say you either drive for 3 hours and 30 minutes, you drive a total distance of 330 miles, or you stop driving by 3:30. I get it, because even though in the past we've taken 8-hour road trips in a car, there is just something about being in the RV that just tires us out. Maybe it's because you have to drive defensively the whole time, because y'all know people can be way crazy, especially when they want to pass on the freeway. Or maybe it's just being a little impatient because you want to, you're excited to go set up camp and get your, fire going. But we have really maxed out driving. We found we cannot do more than maybe 5 or 5.5 hours total tap out, no more after that. In any event, our house was about 2.5 hours outside of LA, so between that distance plus just regular LA traffic, we knew that we would end up having to try to get past the LA area. So scooting around the map, there wasn't a ton of choices that actually felt like a good stop. So what we were looking for was a place that would be easy to get to, wasn't much of a detour from where we were going, and had a place for us to basically just stretch our legs. So not just like a walk in the circle around like the RV area, but more of like a baby hike, I guess you would say. So we ended up at Bonita Ranch Campground in Little Creek, California. We made a reservation beforehand via Reserve America. You do have to create a Reserve America account that is free in order to make reservations through them. When we got there, we pulled up front, we checked in, and then we made our way to our spot. Spots there are not paved. Our spot in particular was not very level, and it was kind of tight. I think there was a tree right there. I mean, it was a little tough to navigate, so just be aware if you're like us and you don't have any kind of auto leveling system in your RV, you may want to just allot extra time to set up. I would also not recommend getting to this campground after dark. It will be very, very dark. There are no lights for you. And I cannot imagine having to back into that tight spot, let alone struggle to kind of level up in that kind of pitch black darkness. Also, something to note, the spaces here have water and power, but they do not have sewer connections, although there is a separate dump station on the property. They do have an area here that appears to be primarily for longer term residents, and overall everybody we interacted with was pretty friendly. We were here for 2 nights because we just wanted to be able to do the hike to the falls and relax a little bit. Oddly enough though, when we went to the front office to ask the guy where the trailhead was, the guy in the office had never been and wasn't really sure. It wasn't that far away, so weird, but we basically just grabbed our backpacks and started walking. We eventually saw a few other fellow adventurers and asked how to get to the falls, and we really just had to depend on like a combination of Google Maps, which we have Verizon service and it was not fantastic there. And there were arrows that were painted, like spray painted on the ground or on rocks. And that is the way that we found our way to the falls. You will encounter a little graffiti on your way there, but the falls themselves were actually really beautiful. And the walk is pretty short. I think the actual walk is maybe only about half a mile or so. But there's also a little creek that you can walk to. So this was perfect for us after a long day of driving and sitting in the car with our legs all cramped up. So summary of Little Creek and Bonita Ranch, I would probably stay here again, but I wouldn't tell someone to go out of their way and stay here for a long period of time. If you're headed this way and you really are just looking for a stop before you end up hitting the desert, it is great for maybe 1 or 2 nights. We didn't visit the public bathrooms or do tent camping, so I can't speak to any of that. But do keep in mind that all the sites are partial hookup and you may have to put in a little extra work leveling. I think we used all of our blocks and we're still not level. So after leaving Little Creek, we actually made our way up the 15 to Vegas. There is actually a Flying J along the way too. So it's a good time to stop and take advantage of your Good Sam discount if any of you guys have that membership through Camping World. Especially now that gas prices are like out of control. There's never been a better time to use a discount card for gas. I will tell you that we have made that drive a couple times in the car, and sometimes you will see cars stopped alongside the road that overheat. So I would just advise you to be prepared and make sure you check everything out with your car before you go. It can be pretty hot. We actually ended up staying at the Desert Eagle RV Park. That is actually the FAM camp location on Nellis Air Force Base. Keep in mind that in order to stay here, you have to have base access. So just to be extra clear, if you do not have base access, you will not be able to get to this campground, make reservations, or stay at this park. I just want to make that extra clear so nobody shows up or tries to get there and is disappointed. So if you do have campground access to the Desert Eagle RV Park, it doesn't have a ton of specific amenities, but the spaces are actually pretty big. So they're nice and wide, they're pretty long, so I would imagine that they are big rig friendly. And the width of the space is great because you don't feel like you're staring directly into like your neighbor's RV. All the sites there that we saw were full hookup spaces. The other thing to note is that there is no shade at all. The spots are just in the open. There's a couple little bushes here and there. We were gone all day, but if you were going to have a down day where you just hang out in your RV, you are going to have to run your AC all day or you are gonna bake in there. And that's something to also make just a note of if you have any pets with you and you're gonna maybe leave them behind. It is imperative you have to leave the AC running. It's gonna be hot. It's time to talk about some of my absolute favorite things that we did in the Vegas area. One day we actually headed over to the Red Rock Canyon National Conservation Area, and I would highly recommend this if you're heading here and you're looking for something outdoorsy to do that is not the Strip. For starters, the day that we went, it was maybe almost 10 degrees cooler there than in actual Vegas. And it's something that you don't need a reservation. I know some places have gone to like a reservation system, but this you do not need a reservation for as of the recording of this video. But there are tons of beautiful hiking trails and some really stunning scenery. One cool thing to note is that there is a really amazing 13-mile scenic drive that you can do. So if you have anybody in your group that is maybe not as mobile or they're not able to do the hike, this is something that I would for sure suggest. I actually even saw some people renting slingshots and that just looked like an absolute blast. So maybe next time. It's also great if you want to bring a bike. I know that people love to do that same scenic drive, but they do it on like a road bike or a mountain bike or whatever. So that looks super fun. And there are some really amazing places for photos and to have a picnic, so make sure you bring some lunch with you. Obviously, we had to visit the Strip. We're not big gamblers, but it was definitely fun going out and people watching. So my grandma actually told me a story years ago how they used to go kind of like lobby hopping and decide which hotel lobby was their favorite. We decided that this would be a really fun way for us to kind of go exploring, but also to get out of the heat. So we ended up actually going to a really good amount of lobbies. We started at Mandalay Bay, and which is actually near the Vegas welcome sign, just for point of reference. And then we worked our way down to the Wynn. We made it to quite a few hotels, and hands down, we love the Bellagio. That little area in the lobby where they have the butterfly observatory and the botanical gardens is absolutely like a must-see. If you've never been, I would highly recommend it. doing all that walking, we obviously worked up a pretty big appetite, and we ended up going to Nora's Italian cuisine. It's off the strip, so it's not directly on the strip. You're gonna actually have to drive or take an Uber over there. And it was absolutely delicious. Everything was really fresh, well prepared. The service was great. It was nice and quiet. And it was actually less pricey than some of the places that we saw when we were just walking along the strip. So if you do go to dinner though, I would recommend maybe making reservations because they can get a little bit busy. Next up was the Hoover Dam. So just a note, there is a security checkpoint that you have to drive through, and they will peek inside your car for the inspection. We parked in a garage, which was covered, which was great because it's hot. It cost about $10 for us to do that, and then we just kind of walked around the dam. I will also tell you that when I looked it up, you cannot bring an RV that is more than, 10.5 feet high by 23 feet long. Just if that was in your plans, make a note of that. Parking is free, however, if you have any accessibility needs. So once you leave the garage, there's actually a gift shop and a little cafe, both of which can get pretty busy. One pro tip that we like to do when we shop for souvenirs is they often will have a bundle where you'll get like a t-shirt and a hat. He gets the hat usually, I take the t-shirt, and it's under 30 bucks, and that's always cheaper for us than buying two separate things. So something to think about. So they do have some tours that are available first come first serve, but you cannot buy the tickets online. They are only available in person at the visitor center. And things change constantly, especially recently. So I would say to call and double check and see what's actually running before you go. We opted to just pay for parking and then just kind of walk around and explore the dam ourselves. And this is really one of just the coolest man-made marvels ever. Very cool views, excellent spots for photos, fascinating info on a lot of the different plaques if you're into, you know, just American history, if you're into Art Deco or anything like that. I would definitely recommend it. I would say that if you are on the fence about going, if you want to know if this is something that you should stop for or if you should skip, I would say stop for it, just simply because it's something that I think you should do at least once. I don't think that we're going to go to the Hoover Dam every single time we go through Vegas or we're in that area, but I'm definitely glad that I did it. It feels like kind of like a life box to check. Great time, and it was beautiful. So another great stop for us was Lake Mead. There are a few beaches that are along the lake that you can go and visit. There's even a campground over there, but for us it just worked out better for us to stay on base. So we didn't have a boat or a kayak or anything like that, but it looked like there were actually some different places where you could launch, just some different ramps down there. I don't know if they were public or private. There are also some vault toilets as you get down closer to the water. You know, not the best, but they'll do the job. So we actually opted to do the historic railroad hiking trail. This is pretty cool because this is actually the route that they used to bring the materials to construct Hoover Dam. It has some really neat tunnels that you can walk through, and you can actually see the lake for like a pretty good portion of the walk. So it's here that I'd like to offer just a couple quick warnings. We saw when we were there a group of 3 people who basically had on like flip-flops, and the 3 of them were sharing one 12-ounce bottle of water they got from the vending machine. I can't say this enough. Please bring enough water to stay hydrated. You're in the desert. The desert is hot. I believe the recommendation, let's see, did I look it up? It's half a liter of water per hour. I'm pretty sure they didn't meet that criteria with that bottle of water, but I have seen people overheat and fall out in many different places. And it's because it's hot and they're not drinking enough water. It's not a hard hike. It's basically just a long walk. It's pretty flat and you can get some relief from the heat in the tunnels, but you're gonna wanna wear sunblock, you're gonna wanna wear a hat, and you're gonna wanna drink lots of water. There are signs there that will straight up tell you to not even attempt to hike for certain periods of the year because it's just too hot. So be forewarned. I will post a link to the actual hydration backpacks that we have. We just got them at, I think one was from Big Five and the other one was from Walmart. We've had them for years and they have held up very well. It's worth it if you plan on doing a lot of these sort of things. By now this video is probably way too long and I think I'm going to end it here. Stay tuned, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you can get alerted when I post the next leg of the adventure. If you want to know more about me or anything like that, I'll post those links below, as well as anything else that I talked about in the video. I am not the most active on social media, but if you do want to follow me over there, then we can both be surprised when I post on Instagram. So what do you guys think? What did we miss? What should we do the next time that we are in the Vegas area? I would love to hear from you guys, so go ahead and please comment below. Otherwise, I will see you guys next time. So please go forth, be kind, be creative. Bye.